Good evening. I'll call to order the Thursday, January 13th, 2022 meeting of the Town North Andover Community Preservation Committee meeting by reading our notice. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so on their televisions by tuning to Comcast Channel 8, Verizon Channel 26, or online at www.northandovercam.org. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we'll post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. If the public would like to participate in the meeting, please email your questions or comments prior to or during the meeting to dbeckley@northandoverma.gov. The question or comment will be provided to the committee before the meeting or read during the proceedings if received during or shortly before the meeting. Since we are remote, can I go ahead and do a roll call of who's in attendance for the minutes? So Tim Shearhart.
Here.
John Simons.
Here.
Rick Green.
Here.
CJ Ganji.
Here.
Absent right now are Terry Holland, Tracy Watson, and John Maven, and Bill Callahan. And I'm Brian Roach, the chair. So thank you all for joining. Sorry we had to switch back to remote meetings, but that is the guidance that we're getting currently. So hopefully we'll be right back to our normal schedule again. And hopefully everyone has had a great new year and you are all doing well. First item on the agenda is a discussion of presentations we had at our December meeting where we had our public hearing. We do have, I'd probably reference the meeting minutes, which we'll address later in everyone's packet regarding the December public hearing. I thought overall, just to kind of give my thoughts, I thought it was good. It was certainly well attended. For a number of different groups come through with ideas. I think the running theme that I got out of it was there's a handful of things that a lot of folks aren't necessarily aware of what we are allowed to fund and not allowed to fund. And hopefully we're able to give them some guidance coming out of that so that can inform some of their applications. Tim, you may be the only other member here for that meeting. So I don't know if you had any other thoughts on, not to put you on the spot, but.
Oh, no problem. I like you. I thought the presentations that they made, the people there were, I won't call it entertainment, but they were educational, interesting. The boat ramp, I've actually forgot about the invasive species. I don't know what category that would fall into, open space or probably. I thought that was interesting as well as an educational. One question I have relative to the presentation made relative to the North Andover track cross-country team's access, was that talking about the 623 Osgood property?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
That's what they're anticipating doing that. Yep.
So all in all, I thought
Brian, Jack Maven joined.
Oh, hey Jack, thank you for
Hi.
thank you for announcing yourself.
I do have an update on the Usler Trail work.
Great.
Too.
Yeah, we'll
Go now.
Yeah, what we're doing is we're just kind of running through some of the folks who presented at our last meeting with some ideas and some questions they had for the committee about how they move ahead with their applications. And one of those was from Mr. Nugent regarding that property. So if you have some additional information, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. I'll try to be brief. There's been some folks at Town Hall involved with this, and Steve Nugent, myself, and Glenn, as you know. About a month and a half ago, Amy, the conservation administrator, and I and Glenn walked the trails again, reconfigured the options for bridges for the trails, tried to make it about as friendly as we could make it, as far as, minimizing impact with the abutters to the property. And we came out with a trail map that I can share with the group. After that, Amy and I met with Steve Nugent twice, and there was a little bit of misunderstanding, but the long and short of it is they're very enthusiastic about a new cross-country course involving the Usler and Osgood Hill and Half Mile Hill trails. They've got it mapped out, and it involves the new trails, the new proposed trails at Usler. They're planning to meet and have the start end of the race be at the end of the large parking lot at the Stevens at the conference center up there.
Okay.
And there's been some communication with the Fireside people, Gene Enright, Melissa Rodriguez also was involved with it, and I guess we were thinking about expanding that a little bit with a gravel lot, but it turns out that the thought is that we would just assemble that the cross country team would assemble for their meets in the far end of that lot, and they would access the trails, the Usler property trails at that point, and they have a 3-mile course mapped out that involves the start and end at the end of that parking area. So there's it sounds like there's some agreement as to that would be the way to go. There's no interest at all in having a trail go down to Osgood Street, and there's even less interest in having a parking area assembled right at Osgood Street. But I think we have some consensus, on terminating the trails up at the end of that the parking area, and it's Steve told me that their intent, the cross country team intent would be to have like 3 or 4 meets a year. They would give notice to the Fireside people operating the Stevens estate, and as long as they do that, and Stevens estate guy was involved. That guy's name is Jed, and he was involved, and he's fine with that plan. So the meets would be on Wednesday afternoon at 3:00. Like I said, like 3 or 4 times a year. It sounds like one a month, or maybe 1 month might have 2 meets, another month, the other 2 months might have 1 meet, and that's really their plan. A week from tomorrow, Friday, we're meeting on site 9 a.m. To do yet another site walk with pretty much all the main characters involved, including Steve Nugent, the cross country coach, myself. Glenn's invited. Amy Maxner, the conservation administrator, will be there. Gene Enright's invited. Andrew Shapiro also invited. That's to kind of hammer our the plans to nail them down and finalize things. Beyond that, I've done some general outreach to actually Troop 82, possibly get an Eagle Scout project involved if we can work the timing. And I've got a potential source of, some minor funds, maybe $500 to support the project from private donors. So that's it.
So I guess I'll jump on this now. No appetite for a trailhead down to Osgood or parking lot down at the Osgood end, which we've kind of talked about now a few times. Can you expand on that a little bit more as to what the thought is behind that?
Well, the thought behind it on the parking area, the thought behind it was we've got, if you look at it right at the bottom of at Osgood Street, The parcel is very narrow, and it goes straight up along a stone wall that would go up into the Usler fields. The thought was that it's fairly close to two houses, and there's no interest by the cross-country team to use that. It's because the sidewalk is on the other side of the street, and they can't have the cross-country team crossing Osgood Street to run their course. The second, and maybe more important reason was they didn't want to have to, and they would have to. It looked like we would have to maybe demolish part of that 300-year-old stone wall and put in a parking area for a few cars. And there really wasn't much interest in doing that. It would, the feeling was it would kind of, ruin or taint a pretty nice vista, as part of Osgood Street. It really wouldn't look too good. And there really isn't any interest in having it there from the FONAT standpoint and from the cross-country standpoint. So, the other thing, and one of the main points we had on laying the trails out was we didn't want to go too close to residences. So we intentionally laid out the trails so that we could stay as far away from the residences as possible. And that path along that stone wall that leads from Osgood Street up to the Usler parcel, it does get fairly close to two of the houses, especially one house. That we thought that wouldn't be a very good thing. And we didn't see any real gain in having the trail connect down to Osgood Street at that point where there's no sidewalk. So that's about, I think that summarized it pretty well.
No, I would agree. Okay. Thank you for a detailed summary. I guess the only other question, maybe this has already been addressed, is how members of the public access the new trail network or the parcel at times when Fireside is having an event. I think that's probably contemplated in the lease agreement, but I can't say that I've read it. If anyone else has an answer to that, I'd be curious to hear it.
Well, that is part of. It's part of the trail layout that's envisioned. If anybody's familiar with the trails up there, there's a kiosk right at the carriage house at the Stevens estate, and that's sort of the main terminus point for parking for dog walkers and hikers, that's where we're recommending that hikers and dog walkers start, when they want to access the Usler property. Now, right next to that kiosk, there is like a straight, it's like a dirt road, and that's part of the trail system. It leads straight down to a very long driveway that continues up the hill to the half-mile hill summit. But halfway down that road, it's a trail. It's a very nice trail, but it's halfway down that trail is a new trail proposed that would bring you down into the Usler property. And basically the Usler property has two fields that are separated by a little intermittent stream. And the trail concept has two small bridges across that stream, so that we're recommending that hikers park at the normal hiker parking location, which is in front of the carriage house. They walk down that trail road, take a right onto the branch trail that takes them down into Usler. They're immediately into the first field. The trail traverses that field, leads to the bridge, where they can cross the bridge onto the second field. They pick up the trail on that second field. They go downhill toward Edgewood, which is in that trail direction. They go to the bottom of that, and we've positioned that particular trail as far away from the houses as we can. So that goes down toward Edgewood. It leads to another bridge that brings you back to the bottom side of the first field. And when you follow that a little bit further, it brings you down to the very far end of that road trail that we started with. So anyway, that gets you back, basically gets you back into the trail system, the Osgood Hill Trail system. If you take a left and go back toward the carriage house, we also have there's another trail that's envisioned that goes uphill to the Sunny Ridge parcel, which brings you to the top of the ridge and connects up to the Osgood Hill Summit Trail, which is probably the most popular trail in there. It takes you to Half Mile Hill Summit and the Vista, or you can go back down toward the kiosk. So that's a decent walk. It's a branch off of the Osgood Hill Trail Network, and it gives you access really to both the new Usler trails and the Osgood Hill Trail Network, and Half Mile Hill Summit and the sitting area, the famous vista that we have. A challenge that the Conservation Commission is going to have is we have to get both those fields mowed once a year to keep them as wet meadows and prevent woody vegetation from taking over and changing the landscape, which the conservation restriction doesn't allow us to do. So, we're working on that, but that's a little bit of an aside from the trail concept that I talked about. So, I guess in a nutshell, for hikers, there's no change. You don't access the parking lot at the Stevens Estate and the Fireside operations. You're completely away from that. The cross-country team wants to set up, they've got a nice flat paved area that they would like to use to set up their meets. And they've done a little bit of their own groundwork to get permission to do that. So like I said, we're going to nail that down a week from Friday.
Okay. All right. I've monopolized the questions. John, CJ, Tim, Rick, anyone else have any additional questions for Jack on this particular topic?
No. Maybe out of
I think you covered it pretty well.
Yeah, it was good, by the way. It sounds exciting. And by the way, I have, for other reasons, Google Earth up and of exploring everything you were talking about. It was good. The Mass Audubon, are they involved yet with the property?
They're involved.
Okay. So they have
and
to...
I don't know many of the details. Amy, I don't know. I can't think of her last name now, but Amy from Audubon actually she'll be on the site walk a week from Friday as well.
Okay.
Great. Well, Jack, I appreciate the thorough description. Thank you very much on that.
Okay.
Thank you for your hard work on it.
I hope it wasn't too boring.
No. Well, listen, it's been a property that's obviously been a topic of conversation for several meetings. So, the more data and the more information we all have, the better. So I definitely am appreciative of that. So
after we have our site walk next Friday, a week from tomorrow, I don't believe there will be any changes, but will incorporate any changes into a revised Goosler property trail map, and I'll distribute that to the committee once it's finalized, which really should be early the following week, maybe by Wednesday of the following week.
Excellent. Jack, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any further discussions on any of the folks that we saw last week? Or Dan, have you heard of any other potential applications coming forward, or did you receive any follow-up correspondence from the folks who came in?
I haven't heard anything about. Actually, there was discussion about a new application that didn't come forward during that meeting. It's sort of an extension of the Gateway project from the Pleasant Street parking lot near Stevens Pond Beach. Some fencing that they were interested in doing wasn't going to fit in the budget of that project, and so planning is talking to trustees right now because there's work that they want to do on that trail that runs along the shoreline of Wire Hill anyways, and so it would probably be fencing that would keep people away from the shoreline, which is something that I think the Lake Study Group from a couple of years ago had recommended, adding more fencing along the shoreline to keep people away from the water, to protect the drinking water. There was talk of including in that application rerouting of some of the trails further away from the water, just to further discourage people. But I don't think that that's going to make the cut, because the trustees ecologist who would basically say it's safe to put a trail here, we can't dig up the plants over here, is on maternity leave, and so they don't think they're going to be able to flesh that out in time. But the new fencing around the canoe storage area and a little farther up the path is probably what they're looking at for this application. So mostly just fencing, pretty straightforward. And I have been talking to Ted Kelly, who was the boat ramp applicant, and he has been talking with conservation, DPW, as well as the consultant that DPW recommended for the project. And the application hasn't changed much. They've just, updated some details. A lot of it is going to come out of the permitting and design process, and so it's really conceptual at this point. But are mainly talking about, how to improve it without encouraging too many people to go, and so just thinking, improving it but simple at this point. But there's not too much new information. Just they're moving it along.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, I don't have anything else on that agenda item this time. Okay. All right. Next item came out of also last meeting regarding a project review and closeout. I think Tim brought to our attention of, hey, there's a number of projects that are outdated. And I said, wait a second, we review this all the time. We realized that we probably did that before COVID. So we're a little bit outdated on our overall review. So I think you'll find your meeting packet, Dan put together, our typical spreadsheet that shows each of the projects, the project number, the year that they were approved, the status as best that Dan has been able to ascertain from communicating with the various recipients, and as well as the funds that are remaining in the project. So in running through these, I don't know if we want to run through each one line by line, and if we have information, great. If we don't, we move on. Or if anyone has any specific questions on particular items they want to jump to. Has anyone had a chance to look at this, or do you want to run through it line by line? Tim, I'm going to put you on the spot again.
No problem. I sort of falls into also the part of the website update. The information varies on each project. It may be a different name, it may be a different description. and it's sometimes hard to say, okay, is this complete? I'll give the example because it's the one I focused on right away, was the 623 Osgood Street. And I was aware of this thing about the parking lot, yet in the website, it says that it's complete. And here we say it's an ongoing assessing options. So the question I have really, what constitutes, it's 2013. I mean, all the legal stuff was done by January of 2013, I believe. And what constitutes this thing being closed? I mean, and it's true for all the projects, by the way.
Right. So I think you would look at this project in particular, and John Simons, feel free to chime in here. And for this one, you can kind of look at it, a few different ways and say, well, it was acquired for a conservation restriction. And by the time the legal documents were acquired, the conservation restriction was in place, project's done, right? I think we were a little bit hesitant to close this one out as we were evaluating parking options, for that, to make sure that there were still funds available to complete that project. If at this point, the property is in the care and custody of the Conservation Commission, if at this point the Conservation Commission doesn't want to move forward with the parking lot on the site, I don't know that we're left with many other options, or the only thing we'd have left to spend money on this particular parcel would be signage, as part of the signage program. So I probably wouldn't want to close it out until we've completed that part of it. But John, you have some thoughts?
Yeah, I've got a couple of helpers here. So,
Yeah.
now which one is this? Because I missed the beginning of
This is Usler, John.
Usler.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're at this point, if we're not going to spend any more money on it, and this path is not going to cost anything, then we should close it down. If you think it's going to cost a little bit of money to build the path, or miscellaneous expenses, you should keep it open, I think.
Yeah, I think, I think at this point, the only expense I would foresee this is the signage program, which we just got ourselves approved to, internally to move forward with. So that'd be the only remaining expense I could see for this parcel if we're not going to build a parking lot.
Yeah.
So I would suggest for that purpose, we keep it open. We're obviously not going to spend $24,000 on a sign, but it would be difficult. You can't just kind of think partially close out the project. So.
Yeah, I'll work with, this is Jack. I'll work with the folks involved, see if we can get some, it'll be thrown at really, to specify, what we feel the signage needs are for the new trails, and yeah, get it in there so we can close it out.
Well, I think there's a distinction there, Jack, where if we're putting in signage as a part of the trails project that is coming forward this year, that would be a separate project than the conservation restriction that was funded back in 2013. So,
I got you.
Yeah. So out of this project, project 1321 would need to hold back. I mean, you saw what we went through on the Glenny Woodlot. I think Rick's having flashbacks right now. Getting some sort of signage on this property to indicate to the town that, hey, this is your CPC dollars at work in permanently protecting this lot. So, whether it's some sort of consistent signage, what we did at Glenny down on the Osgood Street end of things. I think that's probably what we would need to do, and we're not going to tackle that today. What our overall signage program is, I think there's a lot of latent signage that needs to go up across a number of projects. So,
got it. I'm good.
I just want to point out that if the trail is not originating from Osgood Street and there's not a parking lot there, and anyone is entering from the Stevens Estate property, then I would assume that your signage is probably going on the Stevens Estate property where the trail enters 623. And so I'd understand that you'd probably want to, be mentioning on the signage that the land was protected by the CPC. But if the signage is going on the Stevens Estate property, then you may want to leave signage expenses for whatever the the next trail project is, unless the trail project is also drawing from this.
I think I have a fairly strong opinion on this one, Dan, that the signage, I mean, the 300-year-old rock wall isn't going anywhere, but the parcel itself, the whole vista leading up to the property itself is a part of this protection. In fact, I think actually both sides of the driveway there are protected. And that's really what this project was, right? It was about protecting these from development. And I think that signage would be most impactful on Osgood Street. So
Okay.
that'd be my thoughts on this. So
That makes sense then. Yep.
okay.
So the question really is, Dan, your annotation on, we'll get back to the list here. This is all the projects that we have out there in bold. You've got the things that you said are complete. The other ones aren't. And if they're not on this list, do I assume then they're all complete?
So anything that's so also
Because there are many
I don't
that are
think
not
anyone
on
has
this list.
said this yet. The document
Right.
we're talking about is under project reports, and it's called all project statuses. If there's a project that is not on this list, it was completed and the account was closed.
Okay.
So this is only accounts that are open and have
Okay.
money in them.
Super.
So multi-use trails phase 1, is that Mills to Hill?
That's Mills to Hills, and so I didn't receive the December report from accounting, and so this is the November report.
Got it.
You voted to close Mills to Hills in November, and so that wasn't marked yet. There's another one on here, the first one under historic preservation. You had also voted to close out.
Got it. Okay. All right. That was my confusion there. All right. So I guess that in interest of kind of moving this forward, if no one has specific questions on any of these projects, I want to understand if there's anyone here that we need to try and call in if they either haven't been submitting a quarterly report or there hasn't been any activity, but we haven't closed it out yet. I'd probably like to hear from some of those folks. Dan, I think you've got responses from most folks, I mean, the normal people that you hear regular contact from, whether it's Maggie or the Ridgewood folks or Laurie Burzlaff. I think we kind of understand where that is. But I don't see too many other projects that we don't have any answers on. Correct?
Correct.
CJ, do you have the list in front of you?
I do, yes.
Yeah. So for example, a small one, Project 1326, the Historical Society building, $500 left in the balance.
1826. Yes.
Does that look like
I'll
something
find out
that
if
should
we
be closed out?
We probably can. We'll need to just double check with them just to make sure, but I wouldn't see a problem at closing that out.
Okay. Does anyone have any info on the Stevens Estate Carriage House? Dan, do we even know who's responsible for that one at this point?
No, I tried to figure that out today. I don't know who the contact is at the Stevens Estate anymore now that they've contracted with Fireside.
It's $170 left, and there's been no activity on it in years, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I think we voted that money. John might remember this, just for stabilization of the building. So,
Right.
I think we could go to Steve Foster. I mean, he would be the guy to probably talk to on that one.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right, CJ. It was to stabilize the building when there's a thought to maintain it. And then one of the DPW guys drove the plow right into the building and destroyed it to the point it couldn't, and it's gone. So there's no reason not to close the project out.
Okay. All right. So that's project 1344. with $170 in the balance.
Yeah.
And so, John, you making a motion?
Yes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by CJ. All those in favor? I'm gonna have to go to a roll call. Tim,
Aye.
CJ,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
All right, it is unanimous. We'll close out project 1344. Thank you. Fire equipment. We don't have any updates from the chief on the restoration of the fire equipment yet, Dan?
So no, they have been updating me on the fire steamer.
Oh, okay, that's different than the steam. I was confused with the
Yeah.
steamer project. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly what equipment that's in reference to, and when I did talk to them about the steamer, I mixed them up as well and thought it was one project. So I didn't get an update on the equipment. The fire steamer is pretty much wrapped up. I don't know that they have it back yet. It's being refurbished in Maine,
Okay.
but it's, I think a couple meetings ago I put in a bunch of pictures of it, and that's mostly done. I just haven't received final request for disbursement from them.
So where's that going to be displayed when it's completed?
I think there's a question about that because they were hoping to get funds to exhibit it, and we can't pay for an exhibit
Gotcha.
unless it's actively preserving something. And so probably in the fire station, but I don't think they know yet.
I don't think there's room in a fire station.
Yeah, so I don't.
All right, so Dan, we have I think 3 notes here of projects that are complete, waiting on disbursement, or at least 2 for the Bradstreet School Memorial. The 2 projects there, are those the vouchers I recently signed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I meant to include pictures of that. The Bradstreet School Memorial is done, and yeah, they're just waiting on payment.
Okay. So those we technically can't close those out until the funds are actually dispersed, even though we've processed the paperwork.
Yep.
Okay, we'll wait on that till next month. Okay. Just running through, seeing if there's anything. I guess
It was piqued my interest, Brian, is the North Andover Rail Trail Phase 1 project not viable. Recommend voting to close out.
Yes. So
Is that a DOA?
Yeah, Dan, go ahead. Yeah,
so I think in November you all okayed Andrew going forward with using the funds in a slightly different way that still had the intention of that would still produce engineering design results. Basically, it's just instead of working with a Mass Trails grant, it was going to be working with a consultant in MassDOT to do engineering design. Suzanne nixed that and said it wasn't similar enough, essentially, and wasn't what was in the town meeting warrant. And so we're still doing that project, just CPC isn't paying for it. So
yeah, I recall that discussion with Suzanne, Tim. For that one, it was because the warrant was stipulated on a matching Mass Trails grant.
Yeah.
Then this wouldn't be a part of that. That, if we wanted to go ahead, we'd have to reapply and remove those funds. So Dan, you're recommending that we close this one out?
Yeah, yep.
All right. Can I get a motion, please, on project 1382?
Motion to close project 1382.
A second?
Second.
Seconded by Tim. Thank you, Rick. All those in favor? Tim?
Aye.
Be quiet, you guys.
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
John?
Yes.
And Rick?
Aye.
All right, that is project 1382 is closed out. Okay. All right, I didn't have any others on this. I guess there's a couple that we're waiting some updates on housing, and Maggie's usually pretty good about Maggie and Lori both are pretty good at providing those updates when we get them. So I think we'll ding them one more time, and I think Maggie's been away for a couple of personal issues, so I'm prepared to give a good deal of latitude there. So Any other questions on current project review? Or Dan, anything else that you saw that you need to point out?
I just want to point out that the second from the bottom, 1387, consultant for Housing Authority, Melissa had submitted that. Before she had submitted that, there was talk of the town just hiring a housing coordinator through the planning department. And we kind of went back and forth on that. And it sounds like they are considering that again as potentially an alternative to doing a study. I think they want someone who can be more actively involved in helping to produce affordable housing as opposed to doing a study to figure out, what the strategy is. But I don't think any decision has been made on that. And I haven't talked to Melissa about it. I've just heard about it through Andrew, who was the one who was going to hire a housing coordinator before we got into this. So there hasn't been any movement on that, and there might not be.
Okay. Thank you.
Brian, couple of projects, McAvoy Fields, 1331, and middle school. Final design. We'll have to give Dan an update on that. I have to look into McAvoy. We tried to expend the remaining funds with the purchase of a couple of benches, but those may have inadvertently get put through the DPW budget. So I will have to speak to them to find out if we had, in fact, purchased them through the DPW. But,
okay.
And for the middle school project, that obviously still is in design. We are heading towards potentially litigation being heard the week of April 25th, but the design consultant is still somewhat actively working on that. So I'll get an update to Dan on those projects.
Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you. And Dan, Lori will get us updates on the two master playground projects that still have balances, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll get word from Lori and from Maggie at Housing Authority.
Excellent. All right. Okay. Any other questions on project review or any other comments? Okay, good. Dan, thank you for compiling this list. Appreciate it. All right. Next item on the agenda is Academy Road. As you recall, last meeting we were going to have an on-site meeting with myself, Bill, Tracy, and the folks from CRT to discuss some options for the Academy Road parcel. That meeting did not take place. Combination of schedules, weather, and the holidays. So our goal was to certainly have before this meeting, but we're going to try again to have some updates for everyone back for the next meeting. Because obviously it's something we want to continue to address and figure a solution for. So that's the only update on that part. Regarding the website, Tim, I know we've had the holidays there since our last meeting, but I want to see if you've had any updates, made any progress, or need anything from any of us.
I was in holiday status mode. I received some material this week that's going to allow me to go forward with going through each project and updating the information that's on the website. A little bit of learning on my part. For example, finding where I could get the best longitude, latitude information. And it's a combination, it's kind of fun. Luckily, I had a large monitor that I can use to split up multiple screens and do this work, because I've got, for example, Google Earth set up right now, and I'm zooming in on 623 Osgood Street and doing flybys as Jack was talking about what's going on there. That's fun. So I'm kind of selfish in that respect. But the other part too is there's a lot of information that, it varies from what year you got it for the same project, what year, and how do you make sure it's all concise. And so I'm being careful with respect because, Dan, as I mentioned, 623 Osgood's already closed according to that website. So it's like, okay, what's the official word? And I'm going to be very careful about making sure that anything updates. I've been getting editing capabilities on this website, so I'm a little dangerous. But that's about all I got. I really haven't scratched the surface here.
Quite all right. Hey, listen, it's going to take time to get it to, I think, where we all want it to be. So if there's any information that you need, like I said, I did a lot of compiling for the 20th anniversary. I can get you some stuff if you need it. So
That's good because I will be reaching out to all of you, I'm sure. And I do have some pictures that you can upload as one of the capabilities of this tool, but it's the one that's been already there. It just hasn't been used completely in that respect.
Okay, excellent. All right. Okay, so sorry, getting back to my agenda here. The next item is to approve our minutes, but actually we don't have enough folks here to vote to approve the minutes because we've kind of flip-flop our meeting. Right now, just Tim and I were the only ones who were present for the last meeting. So we'll table that to our next meeting, which is, I believe, scheduled for February 10th, second Thursday in February. So mark your calendars. And our application deadline is rapidly approaching. That is February 4th. Friday, correct, Dan? February 4th?
That is correct. I have been reminding people, and
Right.
we'll keep doing that.
And as we, I think, discussed in the fall, the deadline is the deadline. So we're gonna hold to that, and we get those applications in. So plan would be to meet on February 10th, review what we got, and then figure out how we can schedule our next meeting. So Tim, and Jack or anyone else who hasn't gone through this with us, typically we'll get those applications in, see what we have, see who we need to call in to have a meeting with, and we'll probably schedule a couple of supplemental meetings to have them in, so we're not doing one marathon session if we don't have to, so that we can review, make our votes, and then get everything buttoned up for finance and the select board to go to town meeting. So that'd be the plan. Any other questions? All right, great. Can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Rick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. And Jack. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent.
Hi.
It is unanimous. All right. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the next few weeks and be safe.
Bye,
Bye.
folks.
Good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
folks.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye-bye.